welcome to the Quest for the Best Director podcast. My name is Matthew Moore, and joining me live in studio is a guy who, low key, like I'm actually being tied up right now. I'm being forced to say this intro against my will because this man is just too big of a fan of me, Caleb Ferguson. Caleb, what's going on?
Well, this guy just like came to my house. I don't even know who he is. I told him that we had an idea for a podcast. He could, send it into the studio, but he just wouldn't listen. So I guess here we are.
I guess so. Well, only issue is that we don't have our third member. You know what I mean? I don't have my fellow kidnapper,
Yeah.
the person who um might be a little too into Caleb, and has jumped in his car quite a few times, hoping to make out with him. Derek Schwarzinski. Derek, how's it going in College Station?
I don't know. I'm in Austin, so
Oh yeah, that's right. Now you're like totally DOS student. Like anyone can find out who you are. Also, by the fact that I say your first and last name ever so
yeah.
badly.
There's only one of me, dude.
Yeah, I don't think there's too many Derek Schwarzinskis out there. Yeah. Anyways, this is the Quest for the Best Director Ever podcast, where each week we're gonna pit two directors against each other. For the first round, it's gonna be each director's fifth best movie according to theyshootpictures.com. And this week it is Martin Scorsese and his movie King of Comedy versus Fritz Lang and the movie Journey to the Lost City. We're gonna discuss each movie at the end of the podcast. We will vote on which one we liked better. Now, on Fritz Lang's Journey to the Lost City, originally we were gonna watch The Tiger of Echtapar, but unfortunately we had a very difficult time finding it, so we ended up watching Journey to the Lost City, which is like an English dubbed version that is actually a mix of Tiger of Echtapar and the Indian Tomb, which are kind of like the two parts of this one epic that make up Journey to the Lost City. But it is extremely cut down to the point where I think Journey to the Lost City is actually less time than like either movie is. It's like bizarre how much it's cut down. But and maybe we can talk about, I think it'd be dishonest to talk about like, to not talk about how that affects the movie, right? But we'll get into that maybe a bit later. But first, we want to start in the King of Comedy.
Yeah, sure, let's do that.
Sounds
Okay,
perfect.
Derek, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much did you cringe at the King of
We're looking
Comedy?
at a high 11 here. I was like almost tempted to just like stop at multiple points because it was just too much for me to take.
I had the same experience. I actually at several points had to like pause the movie and like go get up and like
Yeah,
take a breather because I was considering like not being able to watch this movie. It was so cringy.
yeah. So for those of you who don't know, we've kind of alluded to it a lot in our intro. But the King of Comedy is about this guy named Rupert
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin. Yeah, not Pumpkin, which a lot of people might think, who is stalking and Rupert Pumpkin being played by Robert De Niro, who's stalking his talk show host Jerry Langford, played by Jerry Lewis, and I say stalking, but it's almost the cringe part isn't necessarily the stalking itself, but the fact that Rupert doesn't realize really that he's stalking Jerry. He thinks that like he's kind of got it twisted in his own head that the two are friends and that they're almost equals and as stand-up comedians because Rupert wants to be this big stand-up comedian, and it ends with Rupert and his friend what's her name, Masha, played by Sandra Bernhard, end up kidnapping Jerry and obviously blackmailing the show to let Rupert on, and then of course he gets arrested immediately afterwards. And we'll talk about the very ending in a bit, I think. But Caleb, I actually want to direct my first question to you because I know you told me in the past that a lot of times you don't like dream sequences, right? But in this movie, I think it's actually very well done. I'm curious what you thought, like kind of um the reality versus maybe lack thereof in this movie, which was a big
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that I don't like dream sequences necessarily, but I think that they're hard to pull off. And I think
sure.
when you do pull them off, they can be very gratifying. And like you said, they're done well in this movie, and so I think they're very rewarding. I will say that actually at first I didn't realize that we were in a dream or fantasy sequence. So like we kind of have this like one of the very first scenes of the movie where he's basically like sort of like forced himself onto Jerry in his car and is like basically giving him his pitch about why he should be a comedian. And then immediately after, we cut to the scene of like them having dinner, and it's you kind of think you're like several years down the line, and it's like, oh my god, Rupert's made it. He's famous now, and Jerry sort of like asking him to take over his show. So you sort of like gather later on that this is obviously all just a fantasy in Rupert's head, that he's like pretending that he's made it and all this sort of stuff. But at first I thought it was real. I thought it was like a flash forward and that he really had made it as a comedian. And so it kind of, for the first, good part of that movie, it sort of toes this line where you're not really sure what's fantasy and what's reality. And then eventually, but it's good because eventually you can figure it out for yourself.
Yeah. Well, two things. First thing, I think there's a really hipster take that maybe that is actually reality and is a flash forward. We'll have to get to that later. But second thing, I think, but it's okay that you don't realize, because that's kind of the point, right? Where Rupert doesn't know what's fantasy and what's reality. So why should we as an audience know? And this is basically a film, through Rupert's eyes.
And I think that's like why the movie's so cringy, actually. And they do a really good job of basically portraying Rupert as like this pretty sympathetic character in a lot of ways. Like you kind of like want to take his side. Like you want to see him succeed. There's that scene when the woman finally comes back to like deliver her verdict, sort of on like his film of his like comedy speech or whatever. And like, man, you really want her to like, oh my god, this is amazing. You're on the show, So like you really like get into his head. And I think like if you sort of look at it through the lens of like, this is a movie about a crazy stalker and you don't portray him sympathetically, it's almost not as cringy, right? But because this guy feels really human and like you really are rooting for him, it like hurts when you see him doing these things.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. Derek, do you have any thoughts on the king of comedy, on this whole kind of cringiness, reality?
For me, it was like, the reason why it was so cringy is because this dude is so unbelievably nice in like every way possible, yet he just doing it's just like, it's almost slimy. It's just like this dude's trying so hard in life, but just not in a productive way at all. And in his head, it's like, exactly. In his head, this is like him, he's winning, and he's like, no dude, you're not on the winning side right now, dude.
That's the bizarre part, right? Is like, if you really want to go through Rupert's eyes, he thinks he's won in this movie, right? Like,
yeah, he actually kind of has in a way.
No, but when, he thinks he's like a respected comedian or whatnot. He thinks he's the king of comedy, but really, everyone just thinks he's a psychopath, and just like they're like laughing at him, not with him. Is the like cringy thing for me? Like, especially when he was like telling that story of like, or he was doing his like comedy monologue or whatever to the crowd at the TV show. They're like not laughing with him. They're laughing at his like awful life. But
I sort of took it a different way, which is that it's not that they're like laughing at him. It's sort of like a commentary sort of on like the artificiality of fame and that sort of thing. Because if you imagine like in the studio, they probably have like the the clap sign and the laugh sign. So their laughs are basically like pre-programmed because the laugh sign comes on and then everybody starts laughing, right? So it's not that they're laughing at him, it's that it doesn't matter what comes out of his mouth because he's famous, and they're going to laugh at whatever he says because he's famous. And likewise with the whole book deal and all that sort of stuff, it's not that they're like buying his books because they think he's super crazy. I mean, sure, that's part of it, but I think mostly it's that like he's in the limelight, he's famous, so they're going to buy it just because he's famous.
Okay, I think we have to talk about the ending here, because I think there's already kind of a conflict where Caleb says one way, Dirk says the other way. I think the ending is really what informs your view of the movie. So there's a question of, is the ending real or fake?
It's definitely real.
No, I think it's definitely fake.
Derek, I think I don't know. For me, it didn't matter too much. Like, I don't think he gets the TV show. I think he gets the book deal maybe, but I think he's actually just in jail because it says he gets like out in like 2 years or whatever. I don't believe he gets out in 2 years.
See, Derek,
that's pretty reasonable though. For like a 6-year sentence, getting out and like paroled in 2 years seems like pretty reasonable.
I don't think he got 6 years.
See, Derek, though, I don't think, just from like a filmic standpoint, I don't know if you can view it as like half of it's true and the other half's not. I think you kind of have to like fully buy into it.
Yeah, I definitely don't fully buy into it because like there's no way you kidnap someone and then like do all this stuff on live television. And
yeah, and if you think about the very ending, like where it's kind of Rupert standing there with his arms down, almost like they're handcuffed, and the announcer's calling his name over and over again. Like that doesn't seem right. I almost think it's like I'm not gonna lie, I read this online, but I almost think it's like a heavy allusion to like illusion, but what's actually happening, is he's just in jail and they're just calling his name right. He's handcuffed, and like Republican, Republican, because why would the commentator say his name like 4 or 5 times, right? That doesn't even make sense.
So I thought about that too. But in my opinion, in all of the other times when it was a dream sequence, it was always intercut with like reality. And so I think that at the very least, in this case, if this is something that's not real, it's being portrayed as fake to a much lesser degree than fake things had previously been described in this movie. I also I think that's like a great interpretation, like because obviously that like constant repeating and like the constant cringing laughing is showing something, but to me it's more showing kind of, as I mentioned before, like the absurdity of all this like fame culture and shock and outrage that this has caused. But also one reason why I kind of am leaning towards this interpretation is if you think of the end of Taxi Driver, another Scorsese movie, the ending is all about how this guy does this crazy thing, and then basically the news stories kind of spin it as him being a hero, right? And sort of this like this falseness of the news story and how it doesn't really portray like the kind of morbidity of what actually happened. And so for that reason, I think that the ending of this is sort of in line with that, where like he's known as this like zany guy who did a crazy thing, but the fame culture really isn't paying attention to like the morbid reality of what happened. It's just a zany story, basically. And so I guess like the absurdity of that is what's being portrayed by the calling the name over and over and the creepy droning on laughing. But I think I definitely think you have a point with what you said before too.
I think that's kind of the point. Like I think the real truth is like Scorsese understands the ambiguity, and I don't think he would, even if you questioned him on this, right? I haven't read any interviews with Scorsese. I don't know if he would necessarily like come down one way or the other on it. I think he would almost leave it up for interpretation.
When you guys were watching it, did you kind of see that similarity to Taxi Driver though?
I actually haven't watched Taxi Driver, which is I know my dark
sorry to spoil you, but
it's fine. Derek, did you see any similarities to Taxi Driver? Or you also
I watched Taxi Driver. Yeah, I kind of.
I was hoping Caleb was making reference that nobody got.
I wasn't really thinking about like how it's similar to Taxi Driver when I was watching it. Honestly, it just so like brash. I don't know. It was just such a unique experience.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think like the bulk of the movie was very much like Taxi Driver, but just the ending in particular, kind of like the message it was saying about, the way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely, for sure. The message could definitely be like, this could be Scorsese saying like the same thing again, but I don't know. There's
just so much.
Yeah. This whole movie is iffy. That's the thing. It's like I don't know whether or not this is a comedy or like a horror flick is iffy.
Yeah. My thing is like, is it? Who's like? How is this guy even writing a convincing memoir? You know what I mean? Like, what does his memoir even look like? That's my question. That's a big question.
To kind of counter that, though, I would say that like I sort of like touched on this before, but if this is fake, it's being portrayed very differently than all the other fake scenes we've seen.
Sure.
Fake as being in his mind, because every other scene we've seen before that is in his mind, it's been him personally talking with someone, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas this is a newscaster, and I don't think that like in the style of how he plays out his fantasies, he would have a newscaster reading. It would be, him talking with a book publicist or something like that. If that was the case, I would be much more inclined to say it was fake because it was done similarly to other fake scenes.
It's hard to say. And then, of course, like I was kind of thinking earlier, the real hipster take is that it's all real.
Yeah, right.
And that, like,
different times.
He is talking to Jerry, after he's gotten famous, and he is talking to Jerry, and Jerry has dependency on him, and even, Jerry's kind of been snowed by.
I don't know if that scene where they're talking to one another at the dinner table or at the restaurant or whatever, if that's in the future, that's some wacky ass shit. Cause that, I don't know how it's like cut in between, like with him in like his basement, his mom's basement, and then like cut to the restaurant or whatever. Seems like such like is just like all in his head.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like the way you're supposed to read it is that it's all in his head for sure. But if we do take the idea that like all this book deal and stuff could happen, then also that could happen.
Yeah, there's no reason that it couldn't happen, right?
But I think if that scene is definitely supposed to be in his head for sure.
You just gotta think, like Jerry Langford's either gonna have, he's gonna come down hard one way or the other on this issue, right? Where like if he doesn't like just completely like forgive Rupert or whatever, and like is like very sheltered human being, you gotta think that he's really gonna fight back on this.
Yeah, but like kind of as we see with the ending scene, like this sort of thing could definitely provide a boost to Jerry's, esteem.
Yeah.
People would be like dying to watch his show now. I kind of think that's like the great, other layer of the movie is that like it's also a sort of reflection on, what it takes to be famous and, that sort of thing. And like it's sort of one way that I took it was that it's showing what you have to do to be famous, right? Like if you want to be in one of these famous positions, you kind of also have to be a little crazy and driven to a bizarre extent to end up, as a talk show host.
Yeah, it's kind of almost making fun of like these comedians who are going through like the process or whatever, right? And showing that like their process is like no more reliable than literally just kidnapping somebody and like forcing yourself onto the show.
Yeah.
But I think we've talked a lot like about the kind of theoretics of the show, but I do want to talk more about the actual direction of it. Starting with this opening scene, which I think is actually really brilliantly done, where you have Jerry on his talk show, and he kind of goes into the crowd, and the crowd's all swarming him and stuff. And it is what is a very chaotic beginning, right? And then the end of the beginning is kind of Rupert ending up kind of backing people away and sliding into the car with Jerry, right? It's a very hectic beginning, but also, in my opinion, like among all the chaos, you really do get all of your characters established pretty much, right? Except for, I guess, Rita.
Well, yeah, she's in the car screaming her head off, and
no, that's
yeah. Rita's the bar girl, yeah.
But yeah, so you get like 3 of the big 4 characters established, right? And what is like I think a very difficult thing to establish characters because all the characters are in like a bunched up mob, right? And part of that's done through Scorsese. Obviously, Rupert's costume design is very distinct.
That suit's super distinct.
Yeah,
I kind of like that scene too because it distinguishes Rupert from like all these other crazy stalker type people. Isn't it like he's actually pretty suave? Like he can actually like talk to people pretty well, and like obviously he has some like issues, but for all those issues, he's actually pretty good at like making conversation and like getting to where he needs to be and sort of fooling people just enough to get his foot in the door.
But that's what he's been working on. That's what he says. He says like he's probably been in his basement like imagining every situation, just like.
Yeah, that's why I almost think that you could almost view it as everything's real, right? Because you've got to think this conversation in the car with Jerry, Rupert's also had 1,000 times before.
Yeah.
In his basement.
Like it's hilarious because I don't know, this guy, he lives his life like he's always already winning, and it's so weird. He's like already won in his mind, like everything he wants. Like he spends like all his time just thinking about it in his basement, and he's already won it in his head.
Another great thing about that opening scene is how they do the opening credits, where it has like the hands up against the window. That was really cool.
What is that though? Why do they do that? I didn't quite get it. I really liked it. You know what I mean? Like, it was a cool image, but like, Dirk, do you have any ideas?
The hands on the window?
Yeah.
I mean, I think so. It looks really frantic in like horror film, like so.
Yeah.
It's startling as hell. True. So.
And even the title is so funny, right? Because you think the king of comedy is Jerry, right? Turns out the king of comedy was actually Rupert.
Yeah, because in his head he's already the king of comedy.
And like you're saying with the whole horror film genre, Derek, it's funny how like Rupert wants him to call him the King, right? Which is like such a horror
Yeah.
film name. Like he really is like a horror film, slasher almost, but also not at all.
Speaking of like horrific, I really like the dynamic between Masha and Rupert. And you sort of get this feeling that he's kind of just like a genial guy who's like kind of pushing too hard, and then she's like actually like a lunatic and kind of keeps egging him on and like pushing him to crazier and crazier heights. Where like he gets, he leaves or whatever because he gets escorted out of the building, and she's like, "Oh, you got kicked out of the building? Go back in there, assert yourself." And she's kind of like egging him on, and it really
Yeah, but he
makes me think about like how this relationship developed.
except for he's egging her on to kidnap Jerry. So I'm pretty sure this guy's just as insane, if not more, than Masha.
And it is interesting, right? Because for a long time in the film, I kind of thought that Rupert's intentions seem more sinister than Masha's as well, right? Where it's like Rupert's intentions are almost to have like, and you could see it in his fantasy sequence, almost have like this domination thing against Jerry, right? He wants to usurp Jerry Langford, right? While Masha, her fantasies are just like
bang,
have romance
bang Jerry.
Yeah. And she just takes that to like a extreme, right? But her actual purpose isn't like anything too horrific, right? But like from the get-go, Rupert's intentions are very sinister.
But they said it's sinister though. I think like I definitely see what you're saying, but I don't think that's necessarily sinister. He just wants to have Jerry's respect. Maybe it's like
no, he wants more than Jerry's respect. Though. He wants to get to the point in life where Jerry is like down and out, and Rupert can help him, right?
That's true, yeah. But I wouldn't say that. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't go so far as to call that sinister though.
And then I think another very like horror movie part of this is like the music in the background at all times is so soft, right? It's not like you have like, I guess, the typical horror music of dun 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 dun, but I don't know what the horror music sounds like, But it's just like almost elevator music's playing in the back at all times, which kind of gets you in line with Rupert's state of mind. Just like everything's good, everything's all nice, but it's terrific to us, and terrific in the bad way, not a good way.
Another thing that I liked was how Rupert as a character is this sort of like, it's like that's how a protagonist like actually is in real life, right? Or like he's like a movie protagonist that's been put into real life, because we all sort of want to be the protagonist. We all want things to go our way and for people to look up to us and adore us and to be the hero. But like that's not gonna happen in real life. You're just gonna be a schmuck, as they put it, right? And he's sort of what happens if you take that protagonist type attitude into real life, and it's just not going to work because not everyone can be the protagonist of life,
Yeah, that's the saddest thing, because like in his mind, he's just like one step away from like Jerry being like, "Oh my God, you're so great, dude. Here, have my show." And it's like, as the audience, we have to watch that because in his mind, he's already like best friends, and like after just like sitting in the car with Jerry, and he can just like walk into his house. But like we know that's like not gonna cut it, bro. That's not how this works.
Another character we haven't talked about much, another relationship, I guess, of Rupert's that we haven't talked about much, is his relationship with Rita, who's basically this girl who like is a bartender, I guess, right? And Rupert takes her on a date, and then she ends up realizing he's crazy, but he invites her to Jerry's house, which is another really awkward thing that we have to talk about as well. And then, but maybe most notably is at the end, part of Rupert's thing is not even validation from Jerry. He's kind of given up on that, but he still wants this validation from Rita, where he gets the cops to go to her bar, and he gets the cops to go to her bar. Yeah, I guess that's all it is. And then so she can see
he's been on TV.
He was on TV. Yeah, exactly. So what we think of Rita, particularly, what do we think of Rupert's relationship with Rita?
I think for him, she's like his heroine or whatnot in his mind. Like if he's the protagonist, she's like his love interest in the movie.
Oh, I thought you meant like.
Yeah, I thought
drug
like
hero.
I mean like in the like classical sense in like the 1940s movie.
Like
yeah, he's like the hero who has to come and like I don't know, he
Save
like
the damsel, yeah.
like not so much save her, but like protect her. Maybe in this case, it's saving her from like being like just a bartender or whatever. But in his mind, it's just like saving her and protecting her in general. She's just his heroine that he has to do that for.
I really like that take, Derek, because I think it kind of informs what Rupert's fears are. You know what I mean? Because we don't really see the mundanity, I don't know, in Rupert's life, the mundane in Rupert's life. We pretty much only see like his exciting moments and like kind of this plan to eventually kidnap Jerry. But we do see Rita, who is the mundane, and like you said, that Rupert feels he needs to protect or save from the mundane life, which kind of allows us to show guess what Rupert considers the worst case scenario, the schmuck life, without actually having to give us typical Rupert's a schmuck, because frankly I don't think Rupert's life is ever quite normal or mundane.
Yeah, I mean, this dude's just insane. Like, I'm pretty sure he's just obsessed with her because he, in high school or whatnot, he says like he liked her or whatever. I think she was just probably like the popular chick that, as the loser, he could never have. So it's kind of like when he becomes the winner, he has to have the girl he could never have.
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it as well.
But the relationship is quite twisted as well, because like if you notice when they're at Jerry Langford's house, he like trash talks her, like says something like really nasty about it, like, oh, she's just some waitress or bartender or whatever. Like,
yeah,
he slams her pretty hard, and so like I think like yeah, he like longs for her, but he also like sees her as like very low. Like, you're low, and I want to bring you up to this level of the stars.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it, right? Is he wants to be the hero, like we're saying. Somebody.
Yeah, it's like what's the word? Patronizing.
Can we talk about that scene in the house?
I had to pause. I had to pause. I could not get through that entirety. Oh.
Because I think the scene right before is when like he's getting kicked out of the building, and then it immediately like cuts.
Yes.
Like on the train, and at that point I was like, oh.
Yeah, I was like, shit. I was like, please no, don't do this.
Yeah, it's so bad. I mean, and to clarify for viewers, basically, Rupert and Rita go to Jerry's house. It's not even really sure or clarified how they know that what Jerry's summer house is or whatever. But
or how he knows the name of his butler, which is like how he gets in the door.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's been stalking him enough to know like all this stuff, which is like
between him and Masha,
which is like super duper scary in the first place, and then when you think about it, and then it's just, oh my god, it's just too much. It's too much.
Yeah, so he goes to his house thinking, and I guess Rupert really does think that he's there for dinner with Jerry. He's actually convinced himself that this scene is real.
Okay, so that's actually like a pretty big thing that I've kind of been thinking about while we've been talking, is that I don't know if Rupert does think that these things are real. I think that like maybe to some extent, if he pretends that they're real, they can become real in a way. Like, I don't think he actually knows or actually thinks that he's been invited to dinner. I think he knows that that's a lie, but I think his thing is that if he just keeps saying it enough, maybe this guy will sit down and work on his material with him,
Possibly, but at the same time, like,
that's kind of scarier.
I think but also like just looking at how Scorsese edits it, like I said, there is no dream-like aspect to it when you watch it, right? When you're thrown in, you don't even realize that it is necessarily a fake scene. Right?
Except it cuts to like reality back and forth. Like, the fantasy is Jerry responding, and the reality is Rupert giving his speech in his basement or whatever.
Yeah, but that doesn't even happen until like somewhat far into the scene, right? It's not like it happens right away.
That's true.
It's a couple minutes in, and because of that, I almost feel like he does know, or he doesn't realize. I think he believes his fantasies, right? I think that's is how you kind of convey that this guy doesn't understand necessarily, or maybe like he has some grasp, but it's definitely not a complete grasp of what is.
Yeah, he's not 100%.
I don't think it's. I think it's less that he goes in there knowing that he wasn't invited. I think at some point he knew he wasn't invited, but he told himself enough times that he was invited.
Yeah, I think he's convinced himself, but I think he definitely has enough of this. Like, he manipulates people too deftly to not have a solid grasp of reality. And like this, like pretending that he's been invited to different things and pretending he's supposed to be there and like basically faking it till you make it is how he gets most of the places that he gets in this movie. Like to the woman to give her the tape and in the door to his office and stuff. Like he basically just like pretends he's supposed to be there and people buy it.
Why don't you think he called her, by the way, the secretary? I was confused about that. Like, because Jerry tells him, you can send me some of your tape, just call my secretary and set up an appointment or whatever. And then he never calls the secretary, right? He just walks in the office. I didn't understand that.
Didn't he try to call? They didn't answer. Doesn't he mention that when he's in the office? He's like, "Yeah, I called and you didn't answer, so I thought I'd come by or something."
Yeah, that he called and like he called like I thought like a couple times and they're just like, yeah, sure, and just like left him.
Oh, remember because he's at that payphone, right? And he's like sitting there for
hours.
Oh
yeah, that's right. Okay.
And then after that is when he goes in.
No, wait, no. Payphone's afterwards though. Payphone is when he gives her the tapes, isn't it? I don't know. Probably right. Not too important. But yeah, just back to the Rita thing. Also, another cringy scene is the original date with Rita.
Oh yeah.
That seems really rough to watch.
He pulls out the signatures. Oh my god.
Yeah.
To me, that wasn't that cringy. That's at least
when he pulls out his own signature.
Oh yeah, okay.
And no, just the whole thing though of like, I'm gonna get famous, like,
yeah,
that's bad. And also just like how Scorsese edits it, where we never get the two in shot together, right? It's always just one, AB, AB. Like that is so rough to watch, right? That doesn't feel comfortable.
Yep.
And it's just so hilarious because he says the line, something along the lines of, the bigger the scroll, the bigger the fame, or something like that. And it's just like, oh my god, because he shows her his, and it's just like some giant letters on a piece of paper. I was just like, oh no, dude, come on, you're gonna destroy him. Dude, I can't take anymore.
Stuff like that's pretty funny though, and I think this movie was actually had a lot of humor in it that sort of like lightened the load of the cringiness.
Yeah, I know it is a funny movie, right?
Yeah, but it's a really good job. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it detracts from the tension.
Oh no,
it's really cool. But like the quote when they're like he's kind of fantasizing his marriage to Rita, and it's like on the show of all places, they're getting married on the Jerry Langford show, and then like the priest turns and he's like, and we'll be back to marry them right after this word from our advertisers. It's just like that part cracked me up.
I definitely agree with that. Well, I was gonna ask. So I just make because this movie raises a lot of questions, right? I think naturally. One other decision that I wanted to question about Scorsese, I don't think it's necessarily either good or bad, but I'm just curious about is so the two kidnap Jerry, which is also another really funny moment, right? Is the whole kidnapping scene where like with the ridiculous amount of tape and stuff.
He like drops the gun.
Yeah, and the signs too. All the signs.
Oh, that was such a great scene. Oh my god.
But then he leaves. Obviously, Rupert has to go to the show, so he leaves Jerry with Masha. And Jerry ends up escaping. Why does Jerry have to escape there? You know what I mean? Why does why does he have Jerry escape?
Because I don't know. It's kind of like they just had to fail. I don't know.
Because we don't want to see like Masha bang Jerry, I guess.
Yeah, but I feel like that's an even funnier scene, right? It's like not necessarily like her banging him all the way, but just like you can really play up that, you know what I mean? And then the cops busting or whatever. Or I guess though, then she would have to bang. She's like not dumb enough to like not know the timing on that kind of stuff. But.
True, and I think also like it's sort of supposed to play on the fact that this whole kidnapping is a farce in the first place.
Yeah, with the gun. That's what I kind of just realized.
Yeah, and like she's not even like competent enough to like keep him captive. Like the police were never even necessary. They never had to bust in the door and go rescue him. He could just get out because this is a pretty lame kidnapping.
Yeah, with a fake gun, which I think really, it's
Although
And
that
it's-
probably saves their butts from going to prison for a lot longer.
Yeah, it's true. It is really funny though, like how Scorsese does it, because a lot of times, like I feel like a less competent director, they would have, Jerry hold up the gun, close up on the gun, and then, and then it's a really corny thing. But I love how like exasperated Jerry's with the whole thing. We kind of shoot some fake shots, and she's like, "Fuck this."
So does he try and shoot her?
Yeah.
When was that? Does he ever like?
Yeah, when he gets untied, as soon as he gets untied.
Yeah, the first thing is you just grab. That's why you probably even notice it's so subtle. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, he like gets untied, and as soon as he does, he like reaches over and grabs it, and tries to shoot her, and then just like the corks come out.
Yeah, it took some of the pellets or whatever.
Yeah, so it makes sense that he would like grab the gun and point it at her.
No, he shot her.
But like to actually, I know, but like to me that seems like a really like harsh reaction.
Yeah.
To like just pull out, shoot her immediately. Like she didn't have a knife.
But just imagine in your head like you get abducted by two stalkers that you've had forever, and they hold you like hostage, and one tries to basically rape you. I think trying to shoot those captors is more than reasonable.
Yeah, I agree.
I think mostly it's that it had to happen for him to realize the gun was fake.
Yeah, sure. And I just think that once again, just how exasperated he is with the gun is like the best part, right? Where he's just like, of course it's fake.
Yeah.
Like to him, it's not even like. Once again, I think a worse director like the gun was fake the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you. And then, but no, he's just like, kind of just gives a sigh and like runs away.
That whole candlelit dinner scene between Masha and Jerry was so awesome.
Oh, it's so great.
Like it just shot so beautifully with like all of the soft illuminating light, but then like just her monologuing is so goddamn creepy.
Oh my god, that I one of my quotes is that because it is so creepy. Like you had to live in a fantasy world to believe that the thing she's saying.
Oh yeah, for sure. She's definitely
like the world, like your view of the world has to be so warped at that point. It's incredible.
And I think it does a really good job of like hinting just enough in what her inner world is like, or like what her life is like, without like giving away too much to take away the intrigue.
Mystique of Masha, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Like, and it kind of like there's a lot of questions that's raised by her that we never get answered. Like, how does she, if she's so like insane, have this like really big, gorgeous apartment in wherever they're living? I'm assuming it's New York, but
it's like her parents. I know, obviously, seem to like care about her, right? They're the one that like pay for her therapy and stuff.
Really? Did you mention that specifically?
I think they had to say her parent pay for the therapy. It could be wrong.
But yeah, I think like she's a very compelling character because we see enough of Rupert that we sort of like feel like we know him and he's a little bit predictable. Not in like a bad way, but just like we feel like we know the character pretty well.
Yeah.
And then but Masha's like, oh my god, like she's a loose cannon, dude. She's scary.
Yeah, the whole scene with like the two of them chasing each other through New York City, it's just so great.
And then when she's like talking about like, my doctor says I can't have any fun. I want to go crazy. And she's like, freaking out, like, ooh, that sent chills up my spine. That was. Ugh.
Yeah, once again, that's like a super horror movie line, right? That's just like not read as a horror movie line.
Although I think that scene is probably as horrific as the movie gets. Like that's as close as you get to where like I was like, is she gonna like stab this guy? Is she like what's gonna happen? Like definitely a lot of tension there.
Also, yeah, it is funny like how well we do get to know Rupert, right? With like he even has like the same lines. I guess he's practice like this is how you social interact lines, but the whole like, okay, I can take a hint.
Yeah.
He says that so much with the whole movie. And it's like it's even funnier because like obviously he cannot take a hint.
Yeah. And like all the stuff with like every time he tries like a conversation is over, he'll like come back and like deliver a thing and then kind of leave and then come back again and say one more last thing over and over. But I think like he's really sympathetic and like I said before, I kind of read the book deal thing as like being reality, but I don't know. Did you guys when I saw that happen, I was like, yeah, he made it, like our guy. I don't know. Did you guys feel the same way?
No, I was like the only thing I thought was like, this stand-up act isn't that bad. It's not
Yeah,
like
like-
absolutely terrible.
That's the thing. Like, if he had actually run the comedy circuit, like been to clubs and like worked on his act, he absolutely could have ended up being like
Yeah.
a somewhat decent comic.
And that almost makes it almost more bizarre that like he decides that he can't, right? And that,
Mhm.
like the Jerry Langford way is the way.
Yeah, it's like his fantasy is the only way this thing can happen.
But I don't think he's sympathetic. Derek, did you think he was sympathetic? Like maybe towards the beginning, but like as the
Yeah,
movie
as
goes
the
on,
movie goes on, I was just kind of like, Jesus Christ, dude, please tone it down. This is not good. This is not going to end well for anyone.
Oh yeah, I felt the same way. But like the reason why you even think that, like, come on, dude, tone it down, is because
Oh,
you're on his side. Like you want him to.
Oh
like,
yeah,
be more
I want him to
and
be
then, like,
more,
go do the comedy stuff. Like you kind of on his side.
a little bit, yeah, for sure. Because it's like he is like really nice. He's like really polite, I guess I should say. Maybe not nice is the word, but it just
Yeah.
I don't know. Watching a character just do the absolute like worst things for themselves constantly, it's just like
Mm-hmm.
it's unique because he's like at any given point, he is not only making it as bad as possible for himself, he's also making it as bad as possible for every single person around him.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think like any degree of sympathy we do feel for this guy, I think we can attribute a lot of that to De Niro's great acting. Like he portrays
Yeah.
this character in such a great way to be able to turn him from someone that, like, if acted in a different way or acted less well, we could have hated this character. And he could have been awful to watch. But even as he's doing these cringy things, I still think like he brings such a warmth and life to him that like it's not as bad to watch as it could be.
Yeah, I totally agree. And actually, ready for my hot take?
ready.
Looking through the movies, okay. So I haven't seen Cape Fear, and I haven't seen Taxi Driver. But off the top of my head, I think this is Robert De Niro's best performance.
Ooh, really?
Ooh.
Yeah. That feels right.
Have you
to
seen
me.
Casino?
Yeah,
You
I've
think
seen
it's better
Casino.
than Casino? Wow, that's a hot take.
I mean, like him, just like he just does so much.
Yeah,
Right, to kind
yeah.
of.
Okay,
Like
yeah.
Demon.
That's fair. He does a lot of work on this.
I also think that like De Niro's sort of been put in this position where he's able to sort of like flex his acting talents because this character like allows him to really like, I don't know, shine, I suppose, by making this character so likable.
Yeah, the writing is really strong,
Mhm.
right? And I'm sure Scorsese and De Niro have like always had a good relationship. You
Mhm.
know, I just know I'd like to think so. At least a good, professional relationship, if not, necessarily good friendship or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any other big talking points in this movie, or do we want to move on to what I think will actually, weirdly enough, be the more interesting movie to talk about in Journey to Lost City?
Really, you think so? All right, give me your pitch for why that is.
Well, I actually think the movie's okay. So when I texted you guys that I did not like the movie, which I'll admit to the viewers I did, it's because it does feel very rushed, right? I texted you guys that about 20 minutes into my movie watching, because it is a very, very rushed movie by nature of it being two movies, combined into one extremely short movie, like half the length, less than half the length. But it's actually shot extremely well, I would say. I think the story itself is very captivating. There's a lot going on, and I almost wonder if we're just judging by Fritz Lang's directorial work in this movie. I think there's a case for it to be better than King of Comedy.
Yeah, they just on directorial work. Yeah, definitely. I would definitely agree. Like,
Because there's actually a lot compelling about the movie. I think the only reason that we don't get that is because we're just not given much time with it, right? Like a lot of these characters are really cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of this is like super cliche.
yeah,
Like what?
Well, okay. First off, we've watched movies with a few good bit of racist things in them, but I think
Okay,
this
yeah.
movie is definitely by far
Yeah, this
the most
was-
racist thing we've watched.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
yeah,
But literally, the only characters who are good are all white, and then the one I don't even remember the guy's name. It's the
Well,
one
Indian
Indian dude who's-
Asagati
Yeah.
is like the
Yeah.
nicest person in this whole thing.
Yeah.
And
So
okay,
it's like the
not only
one
that-
guy who's not white, even to the point where they have to make an Indian woman white.
Exactly. She could have just been an Indian woman, but they have to like basically make her white to make it permissible for the white man to go after her. Okay, but not only is this movie super racist, it's racist in a super predictable way. Like it
Yeah.
uses racist cliches, so it's also like poorly written that way. Now I will say that some of this conflict is written pretty well, but a lot of the other exposition type things are written like super poorly.
Like what?
The whole like white savior thing is super cliche. Like basically like one hyper masculine white dude comes and
He just
No.
like one hits
saves
the
a woman
fucking
from the
tiger.
savages.
Dude, that was so badass though. But I think the point of that is actually that, like the gods are smiling upon him, right?
Oh
Isn't it?
man, dude.
Isn't that the point? Okay, no, I'm not saying it's not racist. I'm just saying it's not that like he has like this special ability to like one hit tigers. I think it's more that it's like it seemed more to him, not that like this was an intentional thing, but just that like destiny was smiling upon him.
I don't know. I think in my mind at least, it's just that that's your super Chad protagonist who's just can't do anything wrong and he's super masculine, can beat everybody.
I don't know, because the way it's shot, where it's like he kind of like looks, he doesn't look at the spear like, yeah, I did that. He looks at the spear like shocked or like a bit confused, right? And it's edited super quickly. I think if they wanted to make him super, as you described, like Chad protagonist, they would have it a more dramatic scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they would almost do more to build up the fighting with him, the tiger, but they don't do that because it's like this act of God, act of Shiva, I suppose, to be specific.
True, but maybe it was done in a non-built-up way because this whole movie is done in a non-built-up way. There's like so many like quick cuts that there's like no tension built up practically.
Yeah, okay, this is something that we can pretty sure wasn't cut, right? Because like, how would you even cut this in this one scene? Like,
what do you mean?
I mean, because Tiger is on the thing, right? It is clear that there has been no fighting because he is not at all like cut up. The tiger does not look any worse for the wear, and the tiger jumps on him and lands in spirit.
No, but just in general, I feel like this whole movie like progresses really fast without building up any tension.
That's because.
So it sort of makes sense that they would write this scene in such a way that like.
See, I don't think that's
like,
true though, because I think if you look at the
everything else
scenes
is
that aren't cut, like for instance the magician scene, that movie does a great job building up tension.
Remind me, what is that scene?
The magician scene is the scene.
Oh, with like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a great scene of building up tension. It's just that I think in this specific case, it's because like it's this act from God. Right?
Oh, we should really like describe what this movie is. We forgot this.
Oh yeah, my bad. Journey to the Lost City. It's almost hard to describe because there's so much going on. But you have your protagonist named Burton. Yeah. Or Burger, apparently. I thought he was saying Burton the whole time.
It was Burton, but it could have been a translation.
Yeah, it could have been like a translation thing. Burton, who he's like, so this kind of white savior character who he's going to the city of Eshnapur to build a hospital. And there's all this kind of political drama going on in Eshnapur where there's these two brothers. One is Chandru and the other is Rama. We'll go with that. I have longer names, but I think we can all agree on calling them Chandra and Rama. Is that okay? Chandra and Rama. And Chandra, he is the the emperor, I guess, / prince, and Rama is his brother. And Rama is trying to kind of have this coup against Chandru, where Chandru falls in love with this dancer named Sita, played by Deborah Piguet, who is also the love interest of Burton. So basically, you kind of have these two conflicting storylines where really Burton and Sita are kind of just pawns, and Rama's bigger game take over the city of Eshnapur.
And that works both ways though too, because his coup sort of came out of this relationship romance drama.
Yeah, that's true as well.
So that kind of like gave him the in.
And that's why I like. See, there's a lot of good things happening here.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's like in terms of like the actual grand conflict of the story, there's like a lot of cool things, but they're just never actually explored or like.
Well, okay, but the reason they're not explored, right, are because this is once again 4-hour movie cut into a 1.5 hour movie.
Yeah, sure, that's not my fault.
But it's not Fritz Lang's fault either.
Explores both of them, make them
I
Yeah.
think it's not Fritz Lang's fault either, right?
Yeah, it's these random dingle dorks.
Uh-huh. I love the use of the word dingle dork, Derek.
Wait, okay, so I'm
I'm a
confused.
big fan of dingle dork.
What, Fritz Lang. So these movies were two completely separate movies that Fritz Lang directed and were then cut together?
Yeah,
Or-
by this random.
Or Fritz Lang himself cut these two movies together?
No.
They got together by like, yeah, an American or whatever.
Okay, by some studio or
Yeah.
production.
Yeah, some random studio called like SG or whatever, which is like the only version you can find, except for like some.
There's actually a lot of like Hispanic versions up there that actually are really good quality. I'm gonna see if I can download one and then maybe like get a subtitle track or something, because there's actually a lot out there.
Regardless, I feel as if I can only judge the movie that appears before me.
No, but we're not necessarily judging these movies, right? So we're judging the directorial work, you know.
Yeah, it's a little hazy. I don't know.
And it's hazy. That's why I said this is the more interesting discussion. Right?
Okay, yeah. From a meta movie perspective. Sure.
Yeah. And I do agree, like, it's both racist and sexist.
Yeah,
to
they
extreme
they
degrees.
literally have blackface in this movie, so that's a first for.
Who's blackface? I didn't even know.
Well, I guess not black, but to look Indian. Like all the Indian characters are German actors. They're white.
I guess they are. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I guess.
that was like when I was watching this, that was like the first thing I noticed is that these Indian guys are like white as hell and are basically painted face. And I was like, this is kind of uncomfortable to watch.
That makes so much. It was kind of hard to tell because of the quality for me. Like,
Yeah.
I definitely noticed something. Then I was like, oh, maybe it's just like a weird quality thing. But no, yeah, looking at this cast list, I don't think Klaus Holm is Indian.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I guess perhaps it wasn't the director's fault, but at the very least, to me there wasn't really that much that I really got into in this movie. I think like it was kind of boring, which is strange, right? Because you have this huge amount of content that you cut into like half the time. You'd expect it to be super interesting, but on the contrary, I was like felt really disengaged and was kind of bored the whole time.
Really, I was like actually into it. I thought there was a lot of cool conflict happening, and like a lot of characters I wanted to learn more about, and obviously was disappointed that I couldn't learn more about them.
Exactly,
right?
and I think for that reason is why I got disengaged.
But see, I was engaged, I guess, because it was only an hour and a half at the end of the day, right? Like if this was like a 2.5 hour movie, and I still didn't feel, connected with the characters an hour and a half in, I'd be like, oh, gosh, why am I even watching this? But there's enough driving it, I think.
Perhaps this is my like more modern sensibilities, and maybe when this was made, it wouldn't be in the same way. But I felt like this movie was really predictable. And
why? I actually don't really agree with that.
Because I mean,
like, what else is gonna happen when this dancer who obviously doesn't want to be with this prince has to be with the prince, and then the protagonist has to come and save her from the big bad Indian dude or ethnic dude.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can pretty much see the plot coming a mile away, and I think like we kind of mentioned before, like there are some complexities, like the political drama and the way like the romance and the politics and the religion are all intersecting, but like we never really get into it, so there's not really that much to actually like enjoy.
I think you get into it enough though. Like you understand the sides at least, you understand everyone's motivations, right? And I think it's kind of cool seeing exactly how Rama manipulates everybody, right? Because I was a bit confused until the end exactly what was up with. Oh gosh, do you guys remember the larger man's name?
Yeah, he's the actual emperor. He's in charge.
Brood. I think it's like Brood, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Where he is, his sister was,
she was the queen.
She was the original queen, it's actually not queen. It's like some
something. I'm not gonna try.
But he kind of uses this marriage to anger him, but then he's actually uses kind of the conflict like overtake that fight, which I didn't see any of that coming, right? And I think like almost all of their motivations are more interesting, and also there's all interesting questions. It's like who actually is good or bad guys here?
Yeah, I think that's another thing that I wanted to bring up, and one of the reasons why I didn't get super invested is because like none of these characters are particularly appealing to me. Like there's no one that I really felt like I sided with. You obviously have like, your protagonist, but like, I don't really like him that much either. I like watching Rupert Pupkin a lot more than I like watching this protagonist. Because let's be honest, this guy came here to build a hospital, and he went chasing tails so hard, I think all the lepers died, and he never ended up building a hospital for all these poor lepers. And his actual goal of going there was forgotten because he found some hot chick. Like, I don't think he's that sympathetic at all.
Well, what's it because he found? But I mean, I think that's sympathetic though, because he's like trying to save her, right?
Yeah, but there's also like a lot of dying people that are stuck in the basement that he's supposed to be
Yeah.
literally saving their lives.
I mean, yes, that's true, but like, if you look at a certain point, it kind of becomes clear. And once again, this is like one of the things that's like almost I wish we had at least the 2 hours of Tiger of Etched Apart that we're talking about. Where it seems like it becomes clear, at least like once we get to the siblings coming in, it's pretty clear that like the hospital is like no longer even a possibility.
Right. Yeah, and that was like the weird part. It's like it just all this whole thing about like saving people's lives got forgotten by the wayside. And it wasn't even like, as they're sailing away and he got the girl, he was like, man, I really wish I could have saved all those poor lepers. Too bad that had to fall through. It like literally just gets forgotten. And I feel like that's probably a consequence of the like how he's literally it's like not very seamlessly put together two movies.
Yeah, I think that's like more what it's a consequence of though.
Yeah, there's like multiple moments when it obviously just cuts from like entirely different sections of the movie, and like you can totally tell because it cuts over like the two dances, the snake dance at the end, and then the beginning dance where it just like temple celebration or whatever.
Mhm.
And like it just always just cuts through both of them. Like all of a sudden it's like at the end and it's over. It's like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and also just to let you guys know, I didn't actually establish. So the Tiger of Etched Apart, it's like the first hour of this movie. So it's up until the point where like the last scene of the movie is when the brother comes in, and he's like, "What's up?" And the guy's like, "I want you to build me a tomb." Or whatever.
Okay.
And then that's when the Indian tomb starts. Now, what actually happened to the brother and sister?
They were just like hanging out. They're just like hanging out in Ashnapur, pretty much. Like, where's my brother? Sorry, I can't tell you. Where's my brother? Sorry, I
No,
can't.
because they go like looking for him.
Yeah, at the very end, yeah, and then they find him after the fact. But it's like in the last like 20 minutes, they're like, let's finally go find my brother, and then they're like, Asagari is like, okay, here's a map. It's like, cool. He's probably like here. It's like, oh, cool.
It's great when you need a white savior for your white savior. That's that's how you know you construct. I mean, I don't know. I just think there's a lot going for the movie, and it is beautifully
dude,
shot. Like,
yeah.
None of us can deny that.
Yes, I was like, there's so many cool shots in this movie. It was like great. Oh my god, like this. Probably my favorite was when he's going to the like lake palace, and they're like walking over the bricks or whatever, and it's just like the sky on the water. I was like, oof, that
so gorgeous. And like a lot of these temple shots are so beautiful. And then like I thought the shot of her dancing, like yes, you can criticize the scene, but like that scene is so pretty to watch, right?
Yeah, all those honestly, all those scenes of her dancing is so well done.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's just like it's so hard to separate. Like that's almost why I wish we'd just like change it last second or something. I just feel bad like saying like, sorry Fritz, this is where you're going because I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it was really good. It also like the design is like so good. Like
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like and it's so opulent the whole city. It just like reeks of it.
Yeah.
Like the parade with like the elephants like acting as trumpets. Like what the fuck? That's so
great. And then a scene that I really love, and I guess we'll be spoiling my favorite scene of either movie is right here, but it was the magic scene that I already alluded to earlier. I thought that scene was so good, where like okay, you have this cool magic trick, which like for the record, like 1960. I'm not even 100% sure. Like, I guess they had a string or something, but that's like a cool trick in and of itself, right? It's like a cool little camera trick.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's even better with just like this great tension, obviously, with her servant girl is like she's supposed to go and like Balrani. She's supposed to be in the box that they're eventually gonna like basically she's being led to her death, and like it's just so great how the magician goes one in, and it just this movie which is so full of sound, right? So full of music, it just gets absolutely quiet, and you just see it cuts to shows every single person's face, but not like this cheesy way, just like this really like silent, like respectful way, and then just blood, oozes out from the box. That was really good.
I really like the scene where she's in the kind of like that leper cave or whatever. Like his sister like falls in the hole and she ends up in the cave full of lepers. It was just like a very like stark departure from the other kinds of shots we've seen because it was so eerie.
How'd she get out of there though? I don't even remember.
Well, she fell down and then she like went up the stairs.
Oh, that's right. And the guy's like, "Oh, hold."
Yeah, then Asagari, as usual, bring a bro.
Yeah, this scene
Save-
definitely is very questionable from an optics standpoint.
Asagari just like fucking saving the day casually, saving the.
Yeah. Of course, we'll probably get no credit for it, Also, can we just talk about like how much of an idiot Emperor Chandra must be?
Wait, is that the main emperor or the one who is in charge of Eshipur or whatever?
Yeah, the one who's in charge of Eshipur.
Okay.
Prince Chandra, whatever you want to call him.
Okay.
He's so dumb, right? Like, how is he just like falling for all of this? Like with this whole magician thing, like how is none of this questionable to you?
Yeah.
Where it's like the magician's going and he's like, let's use this servant girl. Oh, the magician's died. We gotta find that magician.
Yeah.
He somehow had this plan, even though the magician didn't like pick the servant girl at all, right?
Mhm.
Like,
yeah, like the brother like goes up to the magician right before he's like, "Hey, dude, do exactly what we talked about."
like Chandra, dude, you really gotta like step it up here. You okay, Derek?
No, I'm still sick.
Rip Derek.
Oh,
Caleb, you want to
throw him in a leper cave.
What do you guys think of Chandra's decision at the end, though, to kind of let our two whiteys be together?
Oh, jeez.
I mean, what else is he gonna do at this point? Obviously,
Yeah, I guess so. No, he could have killed him, though, right?
I mean, maybe he could have tried, but then she'd probably just like try to kill him or kill herself. Or just like.
Yeah, but just like as revenge, the guy's probably dead anyways,
Yeah, it is like.
I thought that was kind of a questionable scene too.
It's like at that point.
I just feel like. Okay, continue, Derek. I'm sorry.
It's like kind of like at that point, he should probably just give up. This is over for him.
I almost feel like it's probably another thing it's almost pointless to talk about because there's probably a whole like tons of scenes devoted to like that being built up that we're just not seeing.
Yeah, very likely what happened is there's like something said between the two of them, like Sita and Chandra, and we just didn't see it.
Whatever though.
Yep.
So I guess we're good to start voting.
I'm ready to vote.
Oh, also, when they're like going through he's first going through the underground cave, Burden, and we see him in like it's like the dark red hall. I guess it's probably red, but it's black and white, so I don't know. But like that dark hallway where it's like kind of like membranous on the walls. That was really cool design. I like the design in this a lot.
I agree. Derek, do you have a favorite quote from either movie?
I think in Journey to the Lost City, he says something to Sita when she's in like his palace along the lines of, "I'd hope you'd hold some affection for me enough so the love or the affection would bloom into love," or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the full quote, but I'm gonna my favorite like quote from the king of comedy would have to be when the Moshe kidnapped Jerry, and she just like undressing and like we're gonna have some. Let's have some good all-American fun. It was like just this crazy girl, like oh my god, undressing and saying that shit would be so terrifying.
Yeah.
And it was quite terrifying. Caleb, give one.
Yeah, I liked in the King of Comedy. Let's see here. I believe it was Rupert says something like, a guy can get anything he wants as long as he pays the price.
Oh yeah, that was one of mine.
That's kind of like some foreshadowing that like he's gonna get what he wants. He just has to pay the price.
And I guess mine would be like along the same lines. The whole king for a night, schmuck for life.
Oh yeah,
that was really good. My favorite scene I've already talked about was the magician scene. Really liked it. I love the use of repetition as well. How it's like the exact same thing, not just the trick, but just the shot comp. The exact same from the first part of the magic, second part of the magic trick to really build the tension. And then obviously it's, the pattern is broken once Rush is dead. But Derek, what about you?
Oh, I was gonna say the actual quote from Journey to the Lost City first. It was I ask only for affection now, and the right to hope that affection will soon flower into love. I wait that day impatiently to offer you the fairest of my possessions, my own heart. I was like, damn, dude.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was good.
But yeah, my favorite scene would have to. That's a hard one. But probably when those lepers are like coming up the stairs and stuff at the end. That was like some actually creepy stuff in Journey to the Lost
That
City.
was so creepy.
I think my favorite scene was just that whole like candlelit dinner scene between Masha and Jerry. Like the way the background was laid out with all these like soft candles lighting our scene, and just this like crazy perversion of a candlelit dinner. And I don't know, the acting and all of her lines were so good. It just like a lot came together with like an aesthetic beauty, but also like horror at the same time. Very cool.
I very much agree. Also, honorable mention for sure to the scene with Rita and Rupert at Jerry's house. I think that's so great.
Oh,
I think we kind of got distracted halfway through talking about it, but just juxtaposition between the two, Rita who's like just so into this, and Rupert who's like so hesitant about it all.
That's the thing. Okay, so let's jump on that, because I think that is proof that he knows that he actually shouldn't be there and that he's not fully in his own fantasy. Because he's like, put the records off. We need to keep this like as square as possible. So I don't think he's fully like lost touch with reality at all.
Yeah,
I
could see that.
He's trying to get her to not go upstairs and stuff. So he knows that he's doing something weird. He's just doing it to get what he wants.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, I just think it's so great. And also, well, I guess when it comes to best performance, I think obviously it has to be Robert De Niro as Rupert. I think almost all three of us would agree.
Yeah.
Although I do think both of the women in that movie, both Diane Abbott as Rita and Sandra Bernard as Masha are like low-key sleepers, for both did great jobs, I thought.
I also thought that Sita had a really good performance too, because not only was she a good actress, she was a good dancer.
Mm-hmm. Derek, best performance?
Yeah, definitely Rupert. Robert De Niro, yeah, Robert De Niro like blew that out of the park. It was like an amazing performance.
To all the women out there. Shouts to all women, who all put in work. Especially Rita. I think Rita's figure was actually really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, favorite character? Derek?
That's a hard one. Probably Moshe, honestly. She's just so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my god, lady. You're not helping yourself here.
Caleb?
I would have to say Rupert, probably. Because, I don't know, like, it definitely, like, he put a spell on me in some weird way where, like, I hated what he was doing, but man, I wanted to see him succeed,
Yeah. Man, it's like I almost wonder because there is a lot of cool characters in Journey to the Lost City. I think there's one thing we haven't talked about yet, which is like So I was kind of talking earlier, like who is the good guy in that movie? Who is the bad guy? Like between the two brothers, like. So the issue is like they're all in like you said essential blackface. So, like I guess shout outs to Prince Rami, who I think was like a really cool sort of villain, sort of not character, but I would give it to I guess Masha as well because she's like so crazy. Also, I really like the secretary for some reason. I thought like both secretaries, both like his personal secretary and secretary of the building and King of Comedy, like he's just so confused the whole time. But yeah, and then of course, best movie. I think we all agree. I could be wrong, but I guess for the sake of it, we'll go around. Derek, which one do you think is better?
Journey to the Lost City. I think really good characters. No, not really. Yeah, definitely gonna have to give it King Comedy. I like the stage design and like the actual like I don't know, like shot comp and stuff more probably, but it was just like there's nothing.
It's a really ambitious movie too, right?
Yeah, it just like nothing else there though. It just.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
I wish it's probably just honestly the version we saw.
Yeah.
It just I don't know. I wish being a patrician movie watcher wasn't so hard.
I agree. And I was actually thinking, I think me and Caleb both agree. We're also both voting King of Comedy.
Correct.
I was thinking maybe though at some point we could do another. I don't know, all three of us, maybe just like I'll come into Caleb's if I can try to find like a nice version with subtitles. We can have like a singular podcast on the 2-part movies.
Yeah.
Tiger of Eshapar and the Indian Tomb. Because I think they are like worth talking about. I feel like we're being like slightly disrespectful to Fritz Lang by like bashing on movies so hard. Although like once again,
we can only talk about what we saw.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess also like quite a problematic movie, even outside of the editing, right? So some.
Yeah, it was. There's some racial stuff going on there.
Yeah, but sometimes like what can? Yeah, I mean.
The biggest thing is like that completely like scene that all could have been cut out about like, oh, it's okay, you're actually like half white, it's all right. Like that didn't need to be in the movie at all, except to like make.
But I almost want no. I think that actually isn't. I think there might be something there though, where it's like, I feel like that's probably built up more with like the whole like does she belong to India? Does she not? And like her character. I mean, her character is so two-dimensional. I think there's like more dimension to her, especially because her servant kind of references it again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll watch the movie.
Yeah.
But also one thing to be fair to Fritz Lang. Well, it is like obviously extremely offensive. This is like 1960 Germany we're talking about.
Yeah.
So like economically, probably not super easy for anyone to like be getting a bunch of like Indian German actors, especially that many in a movie.
Yeah.
Although once again, quite problematic. So we have 3 more matchups. Can you believe it, Derek?
Oh my God.
I cannot.
Of the first round, of course. Then we have a long one after that. But oh my gosh, I scored like all the way to the bottom. Quite not good. Okay, so we have Hitchcock versus Visconti. We have Godard versus Lynch, which I kind of want to say to last, but maybe not. And we also have Buñuel versus Antonini. Which one are you guys thinking?
Let's do Hitchcock.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm down.
So it's going to be Alfred Hitchcock's Notorious versus Luchino Visconti's The Damned. Derek, are you excited?
Very.
Well, on behalf of Derek and the 2 people here live in studio, Matthew Moore and Caleb Ferguson, thank you all, and remember to watch more movies.